because the Wizards have done nothing. You've got to start from scratch because what you had wasn't good enough. But you got a player today in Poole that's going to help you out.
I'm down with trading Jordan Poole. I'm glad they did that because I think you need to get the stench of the incident with Draymond out of there. Now it's gone.
Real quick on that point, they're trying to sign Draymond to a new contract. As long as Jordan Poole's there, the contract number is going to have to start at $1 more than Jordan Poole.
Just a few years ago, the Golden State Warriors had the most exciting backcourt in the NBA, but it wasn't because of Steph Curry or Klay Thompson. They had just won an NBA championship, and the chemistry the team possessed was unmatched. The future was looking bright, as Steph Curry and Klay Thompson seemed to be the present, but Jordan Poole was the future, until one incident occurred and threw the franchise into a spiral. This one incident altered the trajectory of Jordan Poole's career, and while things looked really bad in year one with the Washington Wizards, he completely flipped the script this past season. So before we get to the content, we started a brand new YouTube channel for baseball content called Uni Diamond Talk. We're giving away copies of MLB The Show 25 to a subscriber that turns on their notifications on that channel. Now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. We've been on an amazing streak on Prize Picks, making $400 off of our last 3 picks, which proves that my data analysis model works. Sign up for Prize Picks using my promo code microphone to get $50 when you make a play of $5, and follow my Instagram at TheFlightMike to see my plays. I also give away additional plays on patreon.com/microphone, and thank you Prize Picks for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Jordan Poole is having the best season of his career in Washington, but we need to learn why Golden State essentially begged the Washington Wizards to take him off of their hands. Jordan Poole was a fringe first-round pick, being selected 28th overall in the 2019 NBA draft. He was projected to be a bench player who could come off of the bench and give the Warriors a spark, and scouts and analysts weren't necessarily fond of this pick to begin with.
I think Jordan Poole has a lot of growing to do with his game. Solid shooter, but undersized. To me, Jordan Poole was not a top 50 prospect in this draft.
Yeah, this doesn't make sense to me. I would give it a D grade. Jordan Poole is a fine college basketball player who might turn into a relevant rotation guy in the NBA. I'd either want to get somebody with more upside or somebody who I think can help me next season. I'm not sure Jordan Poole's either one of those things.
But all that would change in his rookie season after Steph Curry played just 5 games before missing the entire season with a broken hand. Golden State also shipped off their only other viable guard in D'Angelo Russell early in the season for Andrew Wiggins, meaning that the Warriors had minutes to spare with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson missing the entire season because Klay Thompson was recovering from a torn Achilles. Immediately, Jordan Poole was forced to play over 22 minutes per game on a terrible Golden State Warriors team, but it was worth it to develop the young guard. Just a few years later, Poole was a huge factor in the dominance of the 2022 Warriors. Poole was a key member of Steve Kerr's iconic 3-guard lineups, with Poole playing alongside Steph Curry and Klay Thompson to form what was now a trio of Splash Brothers. Through the first 8 games of the postseason, Poole was the best player on the court, averaging nearly 23 minutes per game and nearly 6 assists, all while shooting an electric 46% from 3. Under the game-changing 3-guard lineup, the Warriors would go on to win yet another NBA championship to extend their dynasty. And all was right in the Bay until, well, this happened.
It seems to me the coach knew something was going to happen because he started walking too.
Yeah.
The coach started walking when Draymond started walking, so he knew something was up. Everybody seemed to, only person that didn't know something was up was Poole.
Before the start of the season, a video leaked showing Draymond Green punching Jordan Poole in the face after the pair got into a verbal argument. To put it simply, after the incident, the Warriors weren't the same team. Sure, the personnel was identical to their championship team, but the chemistry was different, and it was obvious that Jordan Poole was the odd man out. After a disappointing season that ended with Golden State losing to the Lakers in the second round, Draymond Green would come out and say this.
As I've admitted before, I was wrong in the way I handled it, for the situation where we were.
But honestly, it didn't matter, especially because it felt like sort of a fake apology. The Warriors needed to move on from Jordan Poole and found a trade partner with the Washington Wizards, as they practically paid the Wizards to take Jordan Poole, as they attached a 2030 lottery protected first round pick and a 2027 second round pick in the deal to acquire Chris Paul. On paper, this was a solid deal for both teams. Washington gets a proven young guard to help build with, and the Warriors get a veteran point guard to help off the bench while also getting rid of Jordan Poole.
Right, so this move had to happen. Whether Chris Paul comes in there and averages 9 assists, scores 14 points, it don't matter. Jordan Poole had to get out of there to get the best Jordan Poole.
Although this seemed like a good way for Golden State to salvage a bad situation, it would end up being one of the worst trades they've ever made, and it's not for the reasons you'd expect. In Washington, Jordan Poole was finally able to have his own team. Back in the Bay, Poole was always playing second fiddle to Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, or even Draymond Green. But in Washington, it was Jordan Poole and just Jordan Poole. Yeah, they had Kyle Kuzma too, but Jordan Poole would always get the nod over him because Jordan Poole had a championship pedigree. Now, Jordan Poole's first season in Washington was forgettable to say the least. His stats regressed mightily, but I think that's mainly because Poole was trying to play the same brand of basketball he was playing in Golden State. And that's hard to do when your Steph Curry and Klay Thompson replacements are Tyus Jones and Landry Shamet. So for that reason, I think it took some time for Jordan Poole to adjust to a new style of basketball. And it even showed in April. In his final month of basketball, Jordan Poole was seriously a superstar, putting up nearly 24 points and 9 assists per game while shooting 37% from three. Even Draymond Green, the man who ran Poole out of Golden State, agrees with me.
But as a competitor, you just want to show everything that you can do. You want to show that you're the guy. And I think last year he was pressing a lot. He just wanted it to happen so bad. And this year he's a lot more settled in. He's not taking some of the shots that he was taking last year.
What about Chris Paul? Well, he mainly came off the bench, but it truthfully didn't matter as Paul would break his hand in January and was waived in June. So to recap that initial trade, the Warriors traded a first round pick and Jordan Poole for half of a season of Chris Paul. This is bad, but keep in mind, this isn't even half of the reason why this trade was so bad. We'll find out the other half very soon. In the current season, Jordan Poole continued his breakout, putting up a career high in points, assists, steals, and three-point percentage, and not by a little either. Poole is shooting nearly 40% from beyond the arc on over 9 threes per game. He's even showcased that superstar flash we saw at the end of last season, as from November 30th to January 3rd, Jordan Poole averaged over 23 points, 5 assists, 2 stocks, and shot 38% from three. The most important part of that hot streak is that he's maintained that elite shooting percentage after January 3rd, meaning that this isn't just a one-off season, this is the real Jordan Poole. He even went as far as to say that he should have been an all-star this season, and honestly, he's got a legitimate point. Without Jordan Poole, there's a very good chance that the Washington Wizards would be winless this season, unless you ask Kenyon Martin, that is.
Man, not a goddamn chance, man.
He hopes
he had his best chance of making an all-star team when he was coming off the goddamn bench in Golden State.
Fair.
Now listen, I'm gonna have to disagree with Kmart on this one. I do agree that Jordan Poole shouldn't have been an all-star this season, mainly because he's not better than Donovan Mitchell or Jalen Brunson, and there's players like Cade Cunningham that got snubbed as well, who was way more significant to a cellar-dwelling team winning. But Jordan Poole's prime is still ahead of him, and I do think in the right situation, Jordan Poole is certainly an all-star. But even after the Wizards traded away his co-star Kyle Kuzma, Jordan Poole has continued to put up insane numbers, putting up a few 40 pieces against the Pacers and Cavaliers. Since the day that Kyle Kuzma got traded all the way to the All-Star break, Jordan Poole has put up over 30 points per game. And despite the fact that the Wizards lost all of those games, it's really not his fault. The Wizards have one of, if not the worst rosters in the entire NBA. Besides Jordan Poole, who on this team is going out and putting up points? And that's without talking about their horrible defense. But it's time to talk about the real reason Golden State lost this trade, and it's really not for the reason that you'd expect. At the moment, the Golden State Warriors are just a few games over 500, and despite their recent improvement following the trade for Jimmy Butler, they're still in danger of missing the postseason in the twilight of Steph Curry's career. The main issue they have is none of the young pieces they drafted have developed into a star to help take the load off of Steph Curry's shoulders. Sure, they could use a true center as well, but the fact that they have to rely on a nearly 37-year-old guard to put up 30 points every night is just unfair to Steph Curry, because Because of this, they had to go ahead and trade a haul of players for a 36-year-old Jimmy Butler. If you want to deep dive into that situation, we have an entire separate video on that as well. But how does Jordan Poole fit into this? Well, there is a world where if Draymond Green doesn't punch Jordan Poole or just apologizes to him, he's still on the Warriors. We can make a completely separate video on the amount of championships Draymond Green has robbed from the Golden State Warriors just from being an idiot. I mean, whether it's getting suspended in the 2016 NBA Finals, alienating Kevin Durant, alienating Jordan Poole. I mean, the Warriors could have easily won 3 more championships if Draymond Green wasn't a psychopath. If Poole was still on the Warriors, he could be helping Steph offensively and maybe even putting up better numbers than he is currently due to the fact that opposing defenses wouldn't have to focus solely on him. Don't get me wrong, Jordan Poole at the age of 23 shouldn't have been mouthing off to a group of veterans who have won more championships in their career than Jordan Poole has seasons played. But you have to keep one thing in mind. Jordan Poole was a 23-year-old kid, and Draymond Green was a 32-year-old veteran, a future Hall of Famer. Draymond, you are nearly 10 years older than this kid. It's on you to be the adult and defuse the situation, not take it personally and punch the kid in the jaw. The reason I'm focusing so much on Draymond Green is simple. Listen to this.
Yeah, I love those guys over there. I love most of those guys over there.
See what he did? After accidentally saying he loved everybody on Golden State, he clarified his statement by saying he loved most people on Golden State. I wonder who he could be talking about. Oh, I don't know. Maybe the one player he wasn't seen talking to after their game with Golden State in January? Like seriously, literally every player is going up to Poole and talking with him except Draymond Green. I love and respect Draymond Green. I really do. I think he was a vital part of the Golden State Warriors dynasty. But I do think it's also fair to levy some criticism at the guy and say he did in fact run some key players out of town before they should have left. Now, after that Jordan Poole comment, Draymond Green tweeted out, "I really am sorry," which is kind of funny, but he did expand on it on his podcast by saying this.
You know, like, it's been 3 years. Like, let's move on. You know?
Where's the love?
We moved on. Like, we're supposed to move on, man. I really am sorry.
Right.
Although I do understand what Draymond is saying, I also do think it's a lot easier for the guy who stayed on his team and didn't get punched in the face to move on. Like seriously, you cannot deny the emotional and personal side of basketball. Jordan Poole not only got punched, but he got ostracized from the team that he had just won a championship with. His career trajectory has been altered forever. There's no question that he could have potentially won more championships with the Golden State Warriors if Draymond Green didn't punch him in the face. Now, although I'm placing a lot of blame on Draymond Green, let me be clear. This isn't entirely his fault. If the Warriors had just drafted and developed players better, this trade simply wouldn't have mattered. But since that hasn't happened like the Warriors had hoped it would, fans can't help but wonder what the Warriors would be like if they had just kept their third splash brother, or if they selected LaMelo Ball over James Wiseman, or if they didn't alienate Kevin Durant. I'll tell you one thing, they probably wouldn't have traded all of their depth for a nearly 36-year-old Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler has been incredible since they've gotten him. I mean, he's putting up 20 points per game with a 47% effective field goal percentage, but the more important thing is the Warriors gave him over $110 million over the next 2 years. Now, here's where it gets really scary for the Golden State Warriors. They originally did have a contingency plan for the post-Steph Curry era, a player that slid in perfectly into their offense, a third splash brother that was over 10 years younger than the rest of them. But now that he's gone, they're all in on this core, this last dance with Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green. And could it yield them another championship? Absolutely. But there is a world where you could have had your cake and eat it too. Don't get me wrong, I think paying Jimmy Butler the amount that they did and what Jimmy Butler brings to the table is incredible, and it was the right decision to make, and we have a completely separate video on that. But the Golden State Warriors pretty much fumbled a dynasty that could have continued into the late 2020s. For Jordan Poole, I think he's a great player, and I think the best parts of his career are in front of him, but I can't deny that I hope it's not in Washington. The Wizards have been in perpetual mediocrity for what feels like forever. I feel like the franchise's last amazing moment was that Paul Pierce game winner that we will forever remember as the "I called game" moment, but even then they didn't make much noise in the playoffs after that. I just feel like if Jordan Poole remains on the Wizards for much longer, they'll be wasting his his talent, just like they did with John Wall and Bradley Beal. If you're asking me what I think his future is going to look like, personally, I believe the Washington Wizards will look to eventually trade Jordan Poole, because even if they are able to win the lottery and draft Cooper Flagg with the #1 overall pick, the timeline between Cooper Flagg's development and Jordan Poole's prime just doesn't match up. Jordan Poole is going to turn 26 in a few months from now. His prime is supposed to be when he's 27 years old. He's on an incredibly cheap contract with a cap hit of $32 million a year before he hits free agency at the age of 28. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's in trade rumors next year as a player that could give a spark to a championship contending team. I personally think that the strategy with the Washington Wizards and Jordan Poole is simple. Bolster his value as much as you possibly can, and then flip him to a team that is in contention now in return for unprotected future first-round picks. His cap hit isn't too significant, and they have all the leverage in such a trade because his contract doesn't expire until the end of the 2027 season. Regardless, it's nice to see Poole bounce back, and it's unfortunate that his career has gone this way so far, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. If he keeps playing the way he does now, he could be in line for a huge payday, or who knows, maybe he actually is the face of the Washington Wizards, which I highly doubt. Regardless, I do have some empathy for Jordan Poole because there is a world where he doesn't get punched in the face by Draymond Green, and he is the future face of the Golden State Warriors, and he is extending their championship window. But instead, he's withering away on a 10-win team in the Eastern Conference that is probably going to trade him within the next 2 years. Hey, at the very minimum, he has a championship, and he's gotten paid over $128 million throughout his career. But let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think about all this? Aside from that, we have a completely separate video on how the Jimmy Butler trade changed everything for the Golden State Warriors. I'm going to leave a link to that in the end screen, and I'm going to meet you guys there. I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.